Okay, and action.
Right, you know.
Clash! 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 Clash!
Come on, do it, we've got to get on. Come on.
One, take one. The Clash.
They tell of white riots. They warn of Armageddon time. They shout about the cost of living. They say they owe no allegiance to either the right or the left. And despite an almost contemptuous disregard for exposure on TV and radio, they're one of the most successful groups in Britain today. It's early afternoon, and lead singer Joe Strummer gets himself together with a selection from Martin Luther King's greatest hits. For a man who sung himself hoarse the night before and is now about to travel 50 miles to do the same in foggy Edinburgh, Dr. King's vision from the mountaintop is stirring stuff.
I am not unmindful that some of you have come here, but I do not wander in the valley of despair. I say to you, today, my friends.
As the group leaves town, the entourage's strays are bailed out. The Clash and their enthusiastic fans have had more than their fair share of attention from the law. The result, rightly or wrongly, is suspicion bordering on paranoia. Frankly, the Clash don't regard the boys in blue as potential friends.
You know what I mean? It livens up the police station. You know, I've done it in Newcastle, you know. Obviously, they're fed up with nicking the same old drunks or whatever. And then when you've got a few Nancy boys up from London, you know, grab them and have a bit of fun. And maybe, you know, if you can do it for a bit of something heavy, you know, we can get a bit of promotion. I don't know what it is.
The audience go wild, and probably the police react in the same way, perhaps, you know? And so we seem to attract quite a bit of it. We could do well without it.
Above all, the Clash pride themselves on putting on a professional show, giving the kids value for money.
They're all the same.
They're great to the kids as well. They stood outside their hotel for about 10 minutes last night. It was freezing, and they signed autographs and everything. It was great.
They're not a rip-off.
An hour before the concert, the atmosphere in the dressing room is almost monastic. However, Joe does have to have a little something to get himself on stage. Honey and lemon, for his voice.
I've never been able to keep healthy in the winter.
But how long have you been waiting out here?
Since about 2 o'clock.
Why have you waited all that time?
To get their autographs or something. Just to see them. We've not got tickets either.
The band's concern for their fans even runs to letting some of them into the concert free. The group also fights to keep its record prices down. Their last double album was half price. Their stand, though, has been expensive. It's rumoured that they owe their record company a six-figure sum. Frankly, they're broke. They've no money to buy homes or drive fast cars. They're rock and roll gypsies, constantly on the move, frightened to stop.
Do you get angry with the record company?
Well, I have done. When they put records out you don't like, you know, of your own ones that you don't think should be the one, then you get angry with them, yeah, and there's all sorts of arguments. And when it seems like they're just going berserk, ripping people off, you know what I mean? The whole music business is really based on ripping people off, I think. You know, so we're sort of a counterbalance force there. And when they try it with our stuff, yeah, we do get angry, don't we?
Relationships between bands and record companies is by and large a pretty unhealthy one. I think the record companies spend too much money and encourage the bands to spend too much money. They invest too much, I think, and the whole system is geared up for spending enormous sums of money and therefore getting bands enormously in debt. So they feel, they know that if they start really shaking the record company and standing up for their own rights too much, then in the last analysis the record company can pull away the money.
Oh, we could be out of trouble this time next year.
Providing you keep making records?
Sure, providing the show goes on.
If we stopped, it sort of isn't really recuperable money anyway. You know, so if it stops, it stops. But at the moment, we don't feel like it should stop.
We'd all have to take a minicab to the bankruptcy court if we knocked on my head now anyway, probably.
They're very anxious that like ticket prices and record prices should be absolutely as low as possible, but at the same time they want to do a really good professional show, and I'm always the sort of the bad guy who's trying to explain that, you know, 2 and 2 makes 4 and not 3, you know, and that if we want to be independent, we've got to be self-financing. We can't live on payouts from record company. We've got to make what we do pay, so that one can have a sort of spiritual independence from the record company, as well as, you know, whatever contracts may say.
I don't think I'll ever be able to face Joe Strummer ever again. I guaranteed him, I promised him that London Calling would definitely be top 10, and he bet me something like a Cadillac. Anyway, free Cadillacs for me, please, for Joe Strummer.
Disc jockey Annie Nightingale said she'd give Joe Strummer a Cadillac if the Clash's single didn't get into the top 10. It got to number 11. Now she has to pay up. Fortunately, a listener has come to her rescue and provided the car. Typically, Joe's going to give it away to the steel town of Corby. He reckons they need it more than he does. And anyhow, he can't drive.
What makes the Clash so good, though, above all the other groups?
Because of the ones that are staying in.
They're the only band that have stuck to their promise, you know, going on top of the pops.
Nice.